This is an attempt to provide cohesive explanation on the impacts of recent US economic policies on manufacturing, labor, and the role of the dollar as a global reserve currency, in relation to upsetting the delicate balance of the global economy. Labor shortages and economic disruptions. Today, we're diving into the economic impact of policies aimed at bringing back manufacturing to the United States. Specifically, we'll look at how labor, production costs, and the strong dollar as a global currency all play into the labor shortages and economic disruption. One major factor that's being proposed in this approach is cracking down on undocumented workers. But what happens if the US conducts large-scale deportations in labor-heavy sectors like agriculture, construction, and manufacturing? Industries like these rely heavily on immigrant labor due to the physically demanding conditions and lower wages, roles that many American-born workers often avoid. Reducing the workforce in these sectors could cause significant disruptions in the supply chain, reduce productivity, and raise production costs. Pressures due to supply chain constraints. These workforce disruptions can also drive up inflation. When production slows and supply shrinks, but demand stays steady, prices naturally rise. Now add the cost of tariffs or trade restrictions, which increase the price of imported goods. These costs often get passed on to consumers. So, while the goal is to support domestic manufacturing, the effect can actually be rising inflation as a side effect of restricted imports. Specialization and competitive costs in US manufacturing. The US manufacturing sector today is highly specialized. The US generally focuses on high-value industries like aerospace, electronics, and machinery, rather than low-cost consumer goods. Why? Because labor costs are higher in the US, making it difficult to compete with countries like China, India, or Mexico, where wages are much lower. So, if we try to shift all production back home, it's a tall order. Take a product that costs $3 to make overseas. That same product might cost $7 or $8 to produce here. That's a big jump that might make American consumers hesitant to the strong dollar and the global reserve currency. And that's where the dollar itself becomes a factor. The dollar is the world's reserve currency, meaning it's widely trusted and held by other countries for international trade. This demand for dollars keeps its value high, making it stronger compared to other currencies. A strong dollar makes US imports cheaper, but it also makes American-made goods more expensive on the global market. In theory, devaluing the dollar could make American products cheaper, boosting demand for exports and encouraging US production. But there's a catch. A lower dollar would also make imports more expensive, adding to inflation here at home, especially in industries where we rely on foreign devaluation challenges and the role of tariffs. Devaluing the dollar isn't simple. The Federal Reserve, which controls US monetary policy, focuses primarily on controlling inflation and maintaining employment, not targeting currency adjustments to make manufacturing cheaper. Moreover, a lower dollar could diminish the dollar's role as a trusted global currency, with far-reaching effects on global investment in the US. So, instead of devaluing the dollar, some policymakers push for tariffs. These taxes on imports can make foreign goods more expensive, indirectly encouraging domestic production. But again, higher import costs are passed on to consumers, adding to inflation. The complexity of bringing manufacturing back. Ultimately, the goal of bringing manufacturing back to the US is noble, but it's also complex. Reducing labor availability, raising production costs, and imposing trade restrictions create inflationary pressures that can impact the cost of everyday goods. And as long as the dollar remains strong, US-made products will have a hard time competing in a market where consumers expect affordable prices. To truly bring back manufacturing, it's not just about changing policy, it's about balancing our workforce, inflation, trade practices, and the role of the dollar in a way that supports both American industry and American consumers. Thanks for watching.